Hey everyone, thanks for checking out another video. Today I'm going to be talking about triads, specifically major triads. So triads are the foundation of your harmony and your chord progression. So the more that you know your triads, the more of a musical rhythm player you're going to be able to be. So a triad is just a three-note chord, and it's the simplest version of the chords you're most likely playing already. It's got a root, it's got a third, it's got a fifth, and you're going to either have a major third, a minor third, perfect fifth, or a flat five, and that's going to give you different triads like major triads, minor, diminished, and augmented. And if you're not sure what all that means, then I'd recommend checking out my Understanding Triads theory video that I have, where I go into a lot of detail about what those intervals are, how to find them on the neck, and the different combinations that build the different triads and all that. You don't need to know all of that in order to play them, but the better understanding you have of them, the more musical you're going to be able to be. Now, one of the cool things about triads is there's a ton of different ways to play them. Let's say I have a G triad, okay, so the notes are G, B, D. I can play that here, play here, so these notes rearrange themselves all across the neck into a ton of different voicings. And so when any one chord has that many voicings, and all the chords have that many voicings, when you have a whole progression, you can pull from those different voicings and create your own way of playing the progressions. So let's say I had the progression A minor, F, C, and G, right? So all of those chords have different triads playing across the neck, so you can pull different voicings and come up with your own way to play it. So I could play that same progression like this, or like this. So you can see there's a lot of possibilities with this. So today I'm going to show you three major chord voicings, and we're going to work on a progression with them together. So I'm going to start you off by showing you your voicings for a G major chord. So our G major triad is a G, B, and a D. Okay, so our first voicing is going to be here. Our root is on our 3rd fret E string. All right, so there's G. B is going to be 4th fret G string, and D is going to be 3rd fret B string. So you get this shape. Right, so I like to bar these two with my pointer finger. Okay, so the next voicing is going to be on the same strings. Actually, all three are going to be on the same strings. The next one is going to be here. Okay, so it's going to be 7th fret G string, 8th fret B string, and 7th fret E string. Our root is on our B string for this shape, so our root is here on G. So it's G, B is here on our E string, D is here on our G string. So we had this one, and then we had this one with our root on B string. The next one is going to be, our root is on G string, it's going to be 12th fret G string, 12th fret B string, and then 10th fret E string. Okay, and that's going to be G, G, B, D. So it's really important to know the notes in your triads and what intervals that they make, if they're a third, if they're a fifth, or it's the root, and to know what the notes are. But that can be kind of a lot at first. If you're just kind of new to this, what I usually tell my students is to assign the shape to the root, right? So with this shape, our root was on our E string. So that means wherever you move your root to, let's say I wanted an A, so here's A, I could play that same shape. Now that's an A triad, B triad, C triad, D triad, right? These are all movable shapes, right? But the point is to assign the root to the shape. We have a shape with our root on our E string, we have a shape with our root on our B string, and then we have a shape with a root on our G string. All right, and so usually an exercise that I have them go over when they're learning this is they go and play all of them. Now our progression is going to be G to D to F to C. So let's go and find the triads for all of these chords. So we already found G, the next one is D. So our first one with our root on E string is going to be here. Here's D, so this was our shape. All right, and if you want to know the theory, it's D, F sharp, A. So D, F sharp, A, 1, 3, 5. but again, if you're new to this, just attach the shape to the root. Our root is on E string. This is our shape when our root's on E string. The next one was our root on B string, and so that's going to be here. Here's D, okay? And this just looks just like our regular D chord. This is going to be D, F sharp, A, or 1, 3, 5. And then the last one was our root on G string, and that's going to be 7th fret G string, 7th fret B string, and 5th fret E string. And D, F sharp, A, 1, 3, 5. So all three of them were this, here, and here. One with our root on 3rd fret B string, one with our root on 7th fret G string, and then one with our root on 10th fret E string. Okay, our next chord is F. So we're going to start with our root on E string, and that's going to be our 1st fret. So it's going to be this shape, right? And the theory behind it is F, A, C is our triad. And so it's F, A, C, and that's 1, 3, 5. Our next one was with our root on B string. So here's F, 6th fret B string, and this was the shape for it. And it would be F, A, C, or 1, 3, 5. And then the last one was with our F on G string. That's going to be here, 10th fret. So it's going to be 10th fret G string, 10th fret B string, 8th fret E string. F, A, C, 1, 3, 5. So we had one with our root on E string, one with our root on B string, one with our root on G string. And then the last one is C. So that's going to start with our root on E string. That's going to be 8th fret. Okay. And that's going to be 9, 8, 8. Right. The theory behind it is C, E, G. So it's going to be C, E, G, or 1, 3, 5. Then we had one with our root on B string. This one you can do in a couple places. You can go up high like this. Right, so that would be 13, 12, 12. 13 on B, 12 on E, 12 on G. C, E, G, or 1, 3, 5. You also can do it an octave lower. This one looks a little bit different because of the open strings. It would just be open, 1, open. It technically is the same shape, but with the open strings it looks different. So you can do either one there. And then the last one is root on G string. So that would be 5th fret G string, 5th fret B string, 3rd fret E string. And that'd be C, E, G, or 1, 3, 5. And so the three you have here are 5th fret G string, 8th fret E string, 13th fret B string. Now, if you're new to this, I would pause right here and make sure that you have all of these voicings for all the chords. Make sure that you can find them in the right spot, that you're attaching the root to the shape. You know, whatever string your root is on, make sure you're playing the right shape to that. Go through and play them like arpeggios, like we've been doing. You know, starting with 1, the lowest, to the middle, to the highest, back to the low. Right, do that for all 4. I'd really make sure that you have those. But if you do have them, then we can continue. One concept that I do a lot is called smooth voice leading. And basically the idea behind it is if you're playing a progression, you don't want to just pick at random the chords that we're doing, right? So again, our progression was G to D to F to C, right? So I wouldn't just play like G to D to F to C like that. I mean, you could, you know, if you want, but there's a way that I go about it that makes it smoother. And that's basically whenever I'm playing a progression and I'm on a chord, okay, so here's G. When I'm going to the next chord, I look for the voicing that's the closest to the one that I'm already on. And that way the notes are moving the least amount, and it's going to give you a more smoother sound. So you can go through and test out all 3 D chords. That's our next one. So this was 1, this was 1, and this was 1. Right, so if I'm here, the closest D chord is going to be right there. And you can hear that's a smoother sound, like a closer sound, than if I were to go here. They both work because they're the same chords, so it's not like it's wrong if you're hopping around. And sometimes you want to, if you want to kind of spread the sound out. But something that I like to do a lot is the smooth voice leading, because it does create a more natural, smooth sound. So let's go through and find some smooth voice leading ways to play this progression. So we had G to D. Our next chord was F. So you go through and test out all three. All right, this one is the closest. It's the obvious choice. So you have G to D to F, and then we had one more. We had C chord. So you go and test out all three C chords. All right, so the first one with your root on G string here is going to be the closest and most smoothest sound. So now we can take our progression, and you can play them just like you're playing your open chords and your bar chords. It's all the same rhythm that you're playing. They're just new shapes. So you can play. And like I said earlier in the video, you know, with all the different ways of playing, you can actually come up with several different options of playing the same progression. Like, let's say we started here with this G chord, right? So you could go up to the same D, right? But there's another closer one nearby, and that would be this guy, right? And then if you're going to F, that's going to be here. And then C was that open string one I talked about. But now the same exact progression. And as you're playing through, like let's say you're playing a song, right? You're jamming with the guys. You can go through and weave around all of these. You don't have to just stay in one the whole time. And oftentimes I am kind of weaving around the neck, finding different ways as I'm going. So you could string this whole thing together and play. All right, well, there you go. There are three major chord triads for you. So what I would do now is I would take some songs you know and some progressions you're already playing, and I would see if you can find these different triads in those progressions and come up with your own ways of playing them. Most likely you'll be able to find a nice smooth way to play it like we just did here, and you'll probably be able to find a few different ways if you sit down with it and try each voicing. But there you go. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'd be more than happy to answer. I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys next time.